What does it mean to be human? This tiny little finite life that we lead in a possibly infinite universe. How do you make sense of that?
Well, it's incredibly exciting to me that there's a giant audience for this, and that what Neil deGrasse Tyson had been doing and what a lot of public touring intellectuals are doing now. They're doing these giant theaters, and these people are coming out to see these shows, and we're realizing that there's, I hate to use the term market for this, but there's a demand for this, and there's a lot of people who are incredibly fascinated by this, and it's spreading information, it's spreading knowledge.
Yeah, it's in the UK particularly. Wembley Arena, for example. You're talking about 10,000 people, 12,000 people
incredible.
In these shows. And you're right, they are coming. Although they're big shows, spectacular screens and all that. They're coming to think. They're coming to hear about what we know about the universe and nature. And I think I'm not surprised people are interested, because these are questions that everybody asks. Just why am I here? Everybody's sat there asking that question. But my point is that there is a framework. There's a framework of knowledge. There are things we know about the universe. So it is true that scientists are not going to tell you why you're here. They're not going to tell you what the meaning of life is. But there is actually there are things you need to know if you want to start to explore those questions for yourself. You need to know that there are 2 trillion galaxies in the observable universe. You need to know that the Milky Way galaxy has got 200 billion stars. Most of those stars now we know have planetary systems. We estimate there are something like 20 billion Earth-like planets, or potentially Earth-like planets, in the Milky Way galaxy alone. So if you're asking questions about what is my place in the universe, you need to know those things, first of all. It's a framework within which you can think.
When you get to those numbers, when you're talking about trillions and billions and all those zeros, my brain just goes numb. There's this lack of comprehension that I'm well aware of. Like, those numbers get thrown about, I go, oh, 200 billion. And it just...
I think everybody does. I think every scientist, no scientist can picture that number. Even the small number, 200 billion, which is the number of stars in one galaxy. And then when you say 2 trillion galaxies, that's... I challenge anyone to be able to picture that, but it is the reality that we've observed. We haven't counted all 2 trillion, by the way. We have a thing called the Sloan Digital Sky Survey, which maps the positions of galaxies. So you know how much of the sky you've surveyed, and you know how many galaxies you've counted, and then you can spread that across the wider universe, and you get this picture of a vast and possibly infinite universe. We know that the universe, or very strongly suspect that the universe is much bigger than the piece we can see. So we have good reason to think that's the case. Whether it's infinite or not is another question. And then that goes to your, can you picture infinity? Well, no one can picture infinity. There's a weird thing as well about, we say the universe began 13.8 billion years ago. So that's a measurement. So because we can measure the speed that all the galaxies are flying away from us, essentially. And then you can run time backwards, if you like, to find out when they were all on top of each other. And so it's quite a simple measurement, and we've done that. So we say the universe began 13.8 billion years ago. But actually, all we know really was the universe was very hot and very dense at that time. And we have some theories that the universe was in existence before that, and perhaps some sort of circumstantial evidence. And that means that actually the universe could have always been there, eternal. And when I talk to people sometimes, some people get upset about that. Some people would rather it had a beginning. And the idea that it might have been around forever is more frightening somehow than the fact that it began. And it's interesting the way that people's minds work. What terrifies you the most, an eternal universe or a finite universe?